Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Saturday night edition of LFC Transfer Room. It's the Saturday night club, and it's the dawn before Liverpool take on West Ham at the London Stadium for the 5:15 kickoff. It's Saturday, obviously, today. I forget over the Christmas period. I can't remember what day's which. And I woke up thinking, oh, it's a Saturday, brilliant, the football's on. Only to remember, obviously, there isn't any today. But alas, no fear, there are a full set of fixtures coming up, but we can't wait to get our teeth into. We'll be having a look at that match preview, and I'm joined by Drew and Dylan, Saturday night regulars, and Toby is making his debut tonight on the Saturday Night Club. And obviously, we are going to kick off talking about all of the drama that Trent Alexander-Arnold seemingly has caused, or perhaps we should say the Spanish media have caused. But first, let's do introductions. Drew, all the way from LA, how are you?
Doing good. Day after my birthday, yours as well, Richie. So a little happy belated to us both. As you said, Saturday, this is like the first Saturday in a while that I have had no obligations and there is no football. So I was like, all right, whatever. But it's been good over the holidays for Liverpool as well. Asterisks on the Trent info, but we'll get into that. But how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the birthday wishes as well. Obviously, we spoke yesterday, and I hope that you had a very merry one. It sucks though. I don't know about you. Like I was moaning actually to my wife earlier, and I was like, do you know what? None of my uni mates remembered my birthday. So if you're watching, guys, cheers for that. None of my workmates. So again, cheers, guys, for that. And it was only actually my home mates and obviously my family as well. And I think my nan actually didn't even wish me a happy birthday. It's just because it's Christmas. Like, I'd like to think it's because of Christmas and not because I'm a horrible person, but everything just seems to roll over into one. Like I said, I didn't even know what day of the week it was. So I don't know about you. Do people remember your birthday, Drew, with it being so close to Christmas?
A bit of hit and miss, but I feel you're older than me, Richie. I've got more old grump in me than you, or old grandpa style. So I'm like, I don't care at this point. So no, I'll celebrate myself and have good.
Yeah, listen, I don't mind as long as I'm not expected to therefore remember their birthdays. If it's fine, if we're quits, I'm fine, but don't come at me if I now forget your birthdays and stuff like that. So yeah. Dylan, how are you over the Christmas period? Did you have a good one? Lots of festivities and celebrations?
Yeah, good evening, gents, and yeah, really good Christmas, everything, loads of food, loads of drink, everything like you should do. And I'll get one over your nan and say happy birthday for you, so there you go. Yeah, no, I hope you all had a good Christmas period as well, and yeah, New Year coming up, and even better that we had a good Christmas period for the Reds as well. So yeah, all good all round.
Yeah, I mean, the last game week was absolutely nothing. You couldn't have asked for a better one. With obviously City, again, dropping points, Everton dropping points, Chelsea, massive surprise that was. I still thought in the 90th minute they was going to pull out a win. Obviously, Arsenal getting the win over Ipswich, but for me, that was always expected. What was unexpected was actually about the margin and the performance. I thought Arsenal would actually do a lot better. But as we know from the first game of the season, Ipswich aren't the pushovers that they're made out to be. So, yeah, really good Christmas period for the Reds, and long may it continue tomorrow. Toby, from Dallas, Texas, joining us. So thank you so much for joining us on the Saturday night. How are you? And did also, same question for you, have a good Christmas.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, y'all. I want to say happy belated birthday to both Richie and Drew. I didn't know it was y'all's birthday, or then I would have told you that. Christmas for me was good. I'm used to working around this time. Last 7 years I was a security guard, so if y'all know anything about being a security guard, it's 365, 24/7. It's god awful, but this is the first year I quit my job. That job, I want to say earlier this year, so I have a new one. So finally had Christmas off for once, and so thank God for that. And yeah, Richie, kind of on to your point about Ipswich and Arsenal. I have a buddy who's an Arsenal fan that I work with, and he was complaining about how they lost. Excuse me. They won 1-0, and I was like, Ipswich. I know they're sitting at the bottom of the table, but they're not an easy team to beat. Like, you got a couple teams that, yeah, sure, that they sit at the bottom of the table. Really, they're not easy to beat. I'm curious to hear what y'all have to say about that, but that's what I think.
I think because Ipswich sit back and defend so well, it's very hard to break them down. And you're not going to score very many against them until they actually start coming out. I think with teams like Liverpool, Arsenal, City, they'll probably sit back knowing that if they can hold out, then they might get something on the break, like they did against us. But they can play out against teams that they expect or would like to beat. So, it's a little bit horses for courses for Ipswich. I think they should perhaps be doing a little bit better. You know, there were big shouts about Kieran McKenna joining a top club. I think he's obviously finding it difficult with the footballers that he's got. Drew, what do you think? I mean, Ipswich are a funny team, really, because like I said, they're really difficult to play against. I would much prefer to play against Tottenham, you know, because you know they're going to come out and attack, and that suits Liverpool's style of play much more. Hopefully, on January the 5th, you know, Manchester United will do the same at Anfield, although I think they'll probably sit back and park the bus a little bit. But yeah, Ipswich and those bottom teams, really. What do you think of them in general in terms of playing against them?
I think it's, as you both said, they're kind of tough to break down, but once you do that, I feel like Liverpool's strength is being able to capitalize on that. They're very good with possession, and they're also very critical and crucial breaking down opposition once they have that goal. Like kind of like the Boxing Day match against Leicester. It's like, you know, they went 1-0 up, but we got that back with the Cody Gakpo goal, and then kind of like it's almost like taking the leg out once that second goal went in, once the second half started, just like kind of leaning on them and pushing them over. Versus Arsenal, I think I put it in the chat yesterday, they kind of have a tendency once they go 1-0 up to not really go hard for that second goal. It's like I've seen, you know, sometimes they do blow teams out of the water, but more often than not, it can stay 1-0 for a long point in the game, and the other team either nicks a goal or they get the second in like the final stages of the game. That's what I kind of think Arsenal kind of really are their own worst enemy in that regard. Like you've seen a lot of pundits talk about how they don't go on and really try to go on for wins. Like when they had 10 men versus Brighton, I think it was, didn't really try to win the game. Like that kind of mentality is they're protecting what they have rather than trying to go for more. So I think they're still stuck in that mindset versus Liverpool are very much like winning, getting that first step, and then just continually trying to get more ground.
How big of a mystery? Because I'm going to ask Dylan about Chelsea in a minute. So get your Chelsea hat on, Dylan. How big of a mystery is Saka going to be? Because he's, according to Arteta, and it is most likely, you know, if he has had hamstring surgery, you are out for about 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks, and then obviously you've got to get your match fitness up and you've got to recover. It does look like, if the reports are led to believe, he's going to be out for 2 months. That's massive, really. Come the rest of this obviously month, which is short, but January, February, Champions League, like that's huge for Arsenal, isn't it?
100%. I think he's one of the players that the team relies on. Kind of like when Odegaard was out, a lot of the excuses were that Odegaard's out, wait till he comes back, you'll see a fully fit Arsenal. There's like some key players in the lineup that's really hard for them to replace. Like they had Saliba the other year when he was out, same kind of thing. Like, oh, we would have won the title if Saliba was in. I think Saka's probably the most important player in their starting 11 just because of the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Takes the corners, takes penalty kicks, is predominantly their most effective goal scorer / creative player. Assist, top of the assist chart prior to Salah taking that over. Like he literally is their output and the most effective player on that front. And just for him, I think he's that kind of Salah-esque player where when things aren't looking well for Arsenal, you're expecting him as an Arsenal fan or as an Arsenal teammate to step up and find the breakthrough. So I think them missing him for, 6 to 8 weeks could be that where you start to see them dropping points, like those games against Ipswich where you just don't see them go on to win by three goals. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble in the time when he's gone, and you're going to see them drop some points.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Brentford away, and Brentford are fairly good at home. They always score quite early, so it's going to be a tough test for them. Dylan, talk through us about Chelsea then, because like I said, Fulham are a good team. We struggled against Fulham, and then I think they also took points from Arsenal, wasn't it, the week afterwards, or the week before? So, they were a good team. I really, honestly, as soon as Chelsea got 1 goal through Cole Palmer, I really expected them to perhaps again, same as Arsenal, push on and get that second. But Fulham are very well drilled and they do have a good team. They actually came out with the win. What a beautiful finish it was from Munoz as well. Did you expect that from Chelsea? And obviously they have Ipswich next as well, away from home. So again, it's not an easy one, as we were just saying about Ipswich. So Chelsea obviously 7 points behind, aren't they? So Chelsea is 7 points behind, and obviously we have that game in hand too. can you see them still maintaining that push and momentum? Do you still think that they're challengers, or do you see them slipping away a little bit?
I've got a few mates that are Chelsea fans, and I have the conversation with them quite often as well about the fact that they are one of those teams where people are expecting them, because they're there now, to kind of stay there and kind of maintain it. But they always say the same as well, that they think they're ahead of the curve of where they should be for this moment in time as well. So, and I tend to agree with them, if I'm honest, because the team that they've got, you don't really know. Yes, they've got a team that they play in the conference, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want to call it, competition that they play in, and then in the Premier League it's a completely different 11 team that they've got. So you kind of have a starting team for them and then a second team, but you never really know what their team's going to be. Around Cole Palmer and probably Nicholas Jackson up front, the rest of it can be quite changed quite often. And I actually had the Fulham game down as a draw for the weekend. I thought that's a game where Fulham are a decent team. I thought they could go there, they could cause them problems. And in all honesty, second half, Fulham deserved that game. Fulham, 3 or 4 chances early on in the second half, and then they got a little bit of confidence, and you could see it was almost a typical Marco Silva team performance, really, in terms of dogging at the back, hard to get through, but quite good in attacking at the same time. So I think once they kind of built a little bit of momentum into the start of the second half, Chelsea were a bit like, well, these sorts of teams aren't supposed to be this sort of good against us, if that makes sense. So especially kind of at Stamford Bridge, maybe for that Craven Cottage, you might expect it a little bit more. But no, Fulham, fair play to them. They came out and they went, no, we're just as good as you, and we're going to attack you in the second half. And quite rightfully, they won the game 2-1. In terms of where they are for this season, I still think they're going to be at there or thereabouts, but I can't see them maintaining it all the way through to be right on our coattails till the end. I think they will drop away, because I think they will have those kind of results where against the big teams, they'll be able to turn it on and they'll be able to have really kind of impactful games against some of the bigger teams. But I think against some of those teams that are maybe mid-table, a little bit lower, they might struggle to break some of those teams down, and struggled like in that game where they went 1-0 up. They should have really been cruising through the game, and then they found it a little bit more difficult, and in the end didn't get the points that they probably thought they were going to get quite early on. So yeah, I think they will be top 4, but I can't see them really challenging for the title this year.
Speaking about top 4, Toby, you've got the job of analysing Manchester City, who don't even look destined for top 4 on current form. They're the bottom of the league in terms of the form table, which is amazing considering at the start of November, Liverpool themselves were a point behind City, who are sitting top of the Premier League, and their turnaround of fortunes has just been absolutely nuclear and catastrophic. So, you know, City, again, it's one of those that I think everybody in the whole world, you know, is asking what on earth is going on. I can even see Leicester at home tomorrow, 2:30 kickoff, by the way, getting a result, because anything could happen, you know, to Manchester City. Leicester looked okay against us and they attacked us. City don't like it when teams attack you, you know. So it's one of those that, you know, it's going to be really interesting. But where do you see City? Again, try if you can. I know that you can't always, but they've not always been in this current form. They have had a bad couple of 8 weeks. Do you see City's form continuing like this, or do you think they're too good? They are going to come back up again.
Yeah, so Man City is kind of like an anomaly, right? After they lost Rodri, it's just like things fell apart for them. I have a hard time believing that just one player has that much of an impact on the team. So I feel like there is something else going on tactically, or just the players aren't as good, or the team isn't as good as we think that they are. Richie, I'm kind of with you. I'm not sure if Leicester City will get the result, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get a draw against Man City. I just go back to a couple weeks ago against, ironically enough, this was the same. I think this is the same week where Liverpool got that draw against Fulham. If I'm correct, I might be off a little bit, but I saw that game as one of those defining games for Man City, and not in a very good way. That loss against United was bad. Even I think all of us can agree was bad. And you gave up like 2 goals like within the last 10 minutes or so of the game. So like that, I think when we go back at the end of the season and Man City, if they continue to drop like they have, we as Liverpool fans and even Man City fans, even Premier League fans, will go back and say, that's a big game right there. That's a defining game right there for Man City. As far as like what's going on with them, I just can't tell you. Maybe it's just coaching. Maybe it's just they're not as good as we think that they are. Who knows? This is it's a position that we've never seen before with Man City under the Pep Guardiola era. So it'll be interesting to see what will happen going forward. I am less than intimidated now than I was a couple of months ago about City after they lost Rodri, because Man City, I saw them as this talented team, and eventually with talented teams, they'll find a way around it. But the way that they're going about it, like I can't remember the last time they've won a game. It's not looking good for them, and I can see just this downward spiral for them continuing.
Yeah, my heart bleeds for them, and it's one of those. Let's talk about what came out then in the papers today, because there was a couple of papers actually. It wasn't just Marca that came out and said that Trent Alexander-Arnold has informed the Liverpool hierarchy that he wishes to join Madrid. It was actually Delario as well. There's a couple of Spanish outlets. Nothing obviously on the English journalist front or the Liverpool front, but well, not that I've seen anyway. But he's playing a bit of a dangerous game, is Trent. Now, listen, we have been debating this for such a long time. Where you put the blame, what you do, should he do this, should he do that? And again, what's beautiful about this situation is that you have an absolute cluster of separate opinions all the way around. Everyone's got a different opinion, and that's the beauty of this situation. There is no right or wrong opinion, no matter how loudly someone shouts. I generally, from my point of view, and I think from everyone's, if Trent leaves on a free, I think he falls even worse into not even the Michael Owen category, because at least Liverpool got some cash from Michael Owen. For me, it goes deeper than that. He's going to leave on a free, and yes, it's not it's not Trent's responsibility to generate cash for Liverpool per se in terms of transfer fees. This deal should have probably been done years ago. I don't personally, and I've said it before, I don't personally think that he has to tell the public what he's doing. He doesn't have to do what Van Dijk and Salah have done and say, yeah, I would like a new contract, so openly. He's playing his cards pretty close to his chest, which is annoying quite a lot of people, i.e. Liverpool fans, because he's not coming out and denying these rumours, but he has always said he's not going to play this out in public. He's had other contract renewals. He's never played any of them out in public. He's not going to do the same for this one. So listen, whatever he does, he's going to be under the microscope until one way or another it's decided. What I don't want really to happen is for the fans to start to turn against him, because this is what Madrid want. They want these outlets, they want these leaks, so that Liverpool fans start booing him, making him feel unwanted, and he goes, you know what, to you, I'm off. And that is Madrid's game. They are the absolute kingpins of world football. They completely control and dictate the press. And that is, I think, what they want. They want the fans to turn against Trent. They all know that he's the scouser in our team. He's the homeboy. And if the fans turn against him, then it's more likely to leave. I don't want a Gerrard fiasco. I don't want anything in terms of the public opinion, will he, won't he, which will always is going to happen. But Drew, I don't necessarily blame Trent for not being as open at the moment. And listen, Salah and Van Dijk don't have Madrid, the greatest team in the world, knocking on their door and saying, come and play for us. Oh, by the way, we gave Kylian 100 million signing on bonus. You're probably not going to get 100 million, but we'll probably give you about 50 million signing that way. I don't know why it's giving me a thumbs up there. So Drew, what are your thoughts on the Trent situation at all?
I've talked about this with Steven a lot, where I'm more disappointed in how he's composed himself in the interviews. I agree with you. He doesn't owe it to anyone to come out and say, I want this or I want that. I think it would be easier on him if he did, even if he went but this is going back. At the start of back in the summer, he was like, I want to go to Madrid. That could have made things easier for Liverpool as fans. And for me, I'd be respectable decision. You want a new life experience. You want a new challenge. You did everything you could for us. Full stop there. The idea of him saying, I'm not playing this out in public, fair enough. But then why is he going on so many interviews? I swear I've never seen a player do as many interviews in a few months as he has. Salah, Van Dijk, I guess, has that thing on Prime, Amazon Prime. But aside from that, I don't remember them doing an interview every week with Melissa Reddy or, going on different shows, the amount he has. And then flip-flopping, going back, I think he said club means everything to him. He wants to be club captain. that kind of thing. And then next week he's talking about Ballon d'Or is the most like important thing to him. It's like that's not a very captain like quality. Like it just seems for me, it's more annoying that there's all these interviews that he's doing that I'm like, what's the point of this? Like, what are you doing? He's saying he doesn't want to speak about it publicly, but he's doing all these public interviews. I don't know why, if this is just like obligations for the team. If so, then I feel bad that he has to fulfill them. So it's one of those ones where I'm sure everyone's tired of it. I wouldn't throw any hate against him for the situation that he's in, but I'm also at the point where I don't care. Like if he like I just want it wrapped up. Like I don't want to see him giving interviews every week. Like I wish he could just step back and say like I'm going to not do that for a while, or just very shortly deal with them, not have it go on like 12, 14, 15-minute interviews like every other week. So again, I feel bad, and if he did leave, like I do wish the best for him. I hope he has his priorities straight, because I think it's one of those moves where you look at like a Coutinho, there's plenty, Wijnaldum, there's plenty of examples, Emre Can, like in recent years, of trying to move on. I think Suarez is the only one that comes to mind who's had a better career moving on from Liverpool. And I think Suarez, all his faults against him, like had a plan and stuck to it. Versus if this is kind of like up in the air, where he's just like having a midlife crisis of a footballing career, I think he really needs to put a lot of deep thought and not make this decision on a whim, or like you say, like just be very emotionally reactive to the situation. So I really like your point on touching what the Spanish newspapers are doing and trying to create a lot of animosity among the Liverpool fan base. I hope it's not going to happen, but I hope we all could just like forget about it, close the newspapers, and then see what plays out.
Yeah, and listen, it's clickbait as well for journalists now who are going to drop Trent lines in from now until the end of January, because obviously Madrid can't actually officially start negotiating until January, which is a little bit worrying from a Liverpool perspective as well, because you would have maybe Trent's waiting to see what Madrid offer him. And maybe he's going to work the two contracts, because officially Madrid can't approach Trent or give him a contract and say, here is what we are going to offer you until January. So maybe he's just waiting for that, and then he's going to see what his options are and compare. Dylan, if he does decide to leave, funnily enough, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold, I don't think there's another right back in the world who can do what he does. But I do think if we lost Van Dijk and Salah, I think there'd be bigger misses in the short term, because they're irreplaceable. I think the right back position, where you've got Conor Bradley coming back, you've got Gomez who can play there, it wouldn't be a catastrophe. Obviously, I still don't want him to leave. I think he's destined to lift another 3 Premier League trophies, at least for Liverpool, in his career. I really hope that he does stay. But if he decides to go, do you think Liverpool say, okay, I tell you what, we will let you go to Madrid in January, and Madrid we want 20, 30 million. Is that an option at all, or do you think Liverpool keep their squad and keep everybody together until the end of the season and Trent goes on a free?
We've had this conversation a few times, haven't we, Rich, on Saturday nights, where we talked about the kind of Trent situation, and I think we do have a ready-made replacement with Conor Bradley, I think, in terms of that. But like we both said before, there is no one in world football who can pass the ball from him from a right back position. There's no one who's as good on the ball as him. So get that straight. We do want that in our team. It's not like any of us want him to leave, but we do have, when he has stepped into the team, Conor Bradley has been a ready-made replacement every time he's played. He's never really looked like the shirt isn't right on him or he can't play at that level. He is at that level. So it's not really as much of a worry if we were to lose Trent compared to the other two. Like all three to stay, of course we all would. But I think in terms of the stuff in the papers these couple of days, like you said, it's no accident that it's happened at this time, right before the period where they can start to negotiate. The Spanish news outlets are trying to turn up the heat, trying to create noise as much as they possibly can, just so people either start to turn on him, more conversations from journalists every single time we have press conferences for Slot, everyone else. It's just going to keep getting mentioned until it's solved. And like you said, it could be a case of Trent sitting out and going, let's see what's kind of offered in January, see where we are by then, and just hope that if he does decide to go, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So God knows what could happen to him if it happens there, because Real Madrid fans, they can turn volatile quite quickly. The white scarves can be out very quickly if it's not going well for you straight away. So who could say what would happen if he was to go? But we're all just speculating though on really, but until we kind of hear definitively, yes, I'm staying, or definitively, yes, I'm going to go, then we can't really say ourselves. But as Liverpool fans, we all just hope that he stays and we get more years out of him, because like you said, I think he could kick on to be the captain of the club. He could kick on to another 3, 5, however many Premier League titles within the next few years if he was to stay, and kind of push on from there. So it's one of them situations, see what happens in January and see where we go in the next couple of weeks with these conversations even further.
You talk about Real Madrid, their fans and their pomp and circumstance. Like, you only have to look at Gareth Bale to see how he was treated by Madrid fans when things weren't going quite right. Gareth Bale won 3 La Ligas and I think 5 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid, including those 3 in a row. And obviously that overhead kick, which he feels is a forgotten goal in the Champions League final. It's one of the best goals I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I'm not even joking. And I have no bones or don't begrudge him at all for scoring that goal. It's one of the best goals I've ever seen in a Champions League final, if not the best. And he was treated abhorrently, really, by the Madrid fans, considering the success that he delivered. And he was quality. He had no flaws about him, apart from the fact he liked to play golf. You know, he had absolutely no flaws about him. So yeah, you know, we have seen it in the past. I think, you know, you only have to look at what happened with Michael Owen over there in Madrid. You mentioned Coutinho earlier, Drew, as well. Exactly the same situation over at Barcelona. You know, just be careful when you have a home that you're comfortable with and that you do really, really well in. And then obviously you move for pastures new, but it's not always greener. Toby, again, yes, we've got Conor Bradley. Yes, we've got Joe Gomez. Got a couple of good youngsters coming through as well. In terms of the Trent situation, we don't play at home until January the 5th against Manchester United. And hopefully most of, you know, I'll actually be at that game. I've got a ticket in the COP for it. So I'm not fussed. When I'm in that stadium, hopefully everyone else is saying, I don't care what Trent's doing in the background. As long as he's given 100% against Manchester United, our most bitter rivals, I'll still cheer him, you know, until anything's done. Because on that pitch is all that matters to me. So, Toby, do you think the fans turn, or do you think they wait and they be patient and then see what happens?
Yeah, so I would recommend fans being patient on this one. I mean, let's be real here. We're about halfway through the season, but we also are competing for the Premier League title. So, like, we kind of, in a sense, need Trent. So for him, it depends. Even if like his foot's kind of one foot out the door or the other, I think there's also that fact that we are competing for the Premier League championship, so Premier League, and also Champions League. So that's something worth considering. Look, I know. I just finished reading the Steven Gerrard biography about the book My Story, and it talked a little bit about that situation where he was interested in joining Chelsea and all that, and just how fans turned on him pretty quickly. I would recommend fans don't do that. Support the players, even if they're not as great as you think they are, continue to support them because they still play a role. They're still part of the team. And, you know, we want to represent the home team. We want to cheer for for our players. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have anything else? No, that's it I got.
That's fine. That's cool. What something I picked up of what Gerrard said is the reason what made him stay. One of the reasons was he spoke to his brother and he spoke to his dad, and they said, "Well, who are you going to show your medals to? You know, at Chelsea, who are you going to show your medals to? You know, and that's massive. Like Trent, you can win the lot. Who are you going to show them to in terms of, you know, the people around you who you've grown up with in Liverpool? Yeah, they'll be impressed, but they'll be 10 times more impressed if you do it in a Liverpool shirt. And he already has done. You know, so. You know, hopefully, Steve, he might have some words of advice for him. And I really hope that Trent stays, because there's for me, not really any better right back on the planet than Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I do hope that he stays. Anyway, on to the match preview then. Let's have some West Ham news then, because unfortunately for everyone who had Lucas Fabianski in their FPL, including me. And by the time it got to half time, I was thinking, yes, I'm on for one of the first clean sheets of the season because I had Fabianski in goal. He did keep a clean sheet, or West Ham did, but he went off injured on 38 minutes. So just the 2 points there for me. But Lucas Fabianski is out. Max Kilman and Carlos Soler are also major doubts for West Ham after all three were forced off by first half injuries at the win of that Southampton. Thomas Souček, which I thought has had a really good purple patch as of late. He serves a 1-game ban, as does Guido Rodriguez. Lucas Paquetá, though, is back from suspension, and he's one hell of a player. Talking about suspensions, Dominic Szoboszlai, bit of a harsh yellow card, bit of a silly yellow card. I think Gravenberch maybe could have taken him down, but then he was also on a yellow card. So, it is what it is. He's ruled out for Liverpool after accumulating 5 yellow cards, and obviously Bradley and Ibu are still sidelined. So that leaves, talking about the West Ham team, Drew, West Ham have had a bit of a strange season. I actually thought that they'd really kick on under Lopetegui, and they've not necessarily. I don't think they've hit the heights. They are above Manchester United, but most people are nowadays. They're just in 13th position. Manchester United are obviously in 14th. Yes, everybody, I'm going to say it for a second time. Man United are 14th after 18 games in the league table. They've lost more games than they have won, and they also have a goal difference of -3. But anyway, Manchester United side, West Ham, who sit above Manchester United in the league table, just in case my signal or internet went, West Ham are above Manchester United in the league table. How do you think West Ham have fared this season, and how much of a blow do you think those 5 players are for West Ham being out?
Definitely think it's a blow. For me, Souček is that kind of player that is a big, scrappy dude. He can get a goal as well, so he's not someone I like to see in the team. I think they have other players, obviously Kudus, Bowen, coming to mind immediately that can do some damage. But I think West Ham had a really tough transition to Lopetegui. Like, beginning of the season was dreadful. It seemed to kind of steadied the ship a bit. Like in recent weeks, I think the only game they lost was beginning of December against Leicester, which is not a good team to lose against, but it was away from home. But since then, they've drawn against like Bournemouth and Brighton. They won at the weekend, or they won the other day against Southampton. So they're stringing results together. And I know we played them in the Carabao Cup early in the season and absolutely demolished them, but that was at home. At the end of last season under Klopp, it was in one of those like run-ins where we lost the title, or the title chance. We drew against them away from home. So it's like definitely that team, as we've all experienced, it's like you don't take any team lightly. You don't take a win for granted going into the match. And if you do, that's when you get like smacked in the face and you end up drawing or losing. I don't see that happening to Liverpool. I think Slots is like really that analytical mind that's like really, for me, great to see, like how serious he is. Like he takes it very seriously. I think he got asked in his press conference, pre-match press conference, like if it's just like, oh, another game, or are you gonna like have any special tactics? And he's just basically laughing. He's like, no, we're gonna take this very seriously and address the game that way as well. So yeah, it's a game I fully expect Liverpool to win, but West Ham, like if Jared Bowen has like a blinder of a match, he's capable of scoring wonder goals. Kudus can score a goal. Like they have players that can hurt you, and I think their defense is there for us to get at, especially with our record away from home. But it's cliche, but it's just the honest truth. When you have to take it a game at a time, and I think game at a time, and I think the players are in that mind state, and they'll be ready to win against West Ham tomorrow.
Yeah, you mentioned when Liverpool lost, it was in 2021 in November, where West Ham's 3-2 home win against Liverpool was their only win in the past 16 top-flight meetings. They've drawn 3, and Liverpool have been triumphant on 12 other occasions. But Jared Bowen, I've always, even 3 years ago, I remember during COVID, we were talking about, who can be the replacement for Mohamed Salah, or who can sit behind Salah. And I'd said Bowen because I think he was fantastic. And he had a really good breakout season that season. He's actually only 2 goals away from becoming the second player to score 50 in the Premier League for West Ham, after Michail Antonio, who's obviously also ruled out after that horrendous car crash, and not only well wishes are with him. Dylan, Drew mentioned Arne Slot, who is taking this game extremely seriously, and as he should as well. West Ham away, it's not the best, especially considering when you're looking at Liverpool's last 4, their last 4 away games, they have conceded 10 goals, which is massive. You know, they've conceded over 2 goals a game. They've won 2 and drawn 2. They are unbeaten, the only team in the Premier League still unbeaten away, because obviously that home loss was against Nottingham Forest. So it's not going to be an easy game really for the Reds, and I do think it's one that he should take seriously. But listen, Arne Slot, we all know about. I do want to ask Toby about his changes in midweek. Obviously, Liverpool's only lost 1 of 26 matches under Slot, which is phenomenal, like unreal. You know, no one ever expected this start. So how much are you fearing West Ham? I'm a bit edgy, if I'm honest. I'm more so away at West Ham than I was this time last week when we were previewing the Tottenham match. I felt that we would win against Tottenham. West Ham, I think, is a more of a banana skin.
Yeah, it's one of them places that I don't think can ever be taken lightly. In all honesty, it always feels, even though we have quite a good record there, it was one of those grounds that just always feels, even more so when it was Upton Park than the new stadium. But it's one of them that just always feels like a tricky away day where you know they're going to be on top of you. It's going to be physical. They are going to create a couple of chances themselves, so you are going to have to be on it in terms of that. But you're going to have to be up for the battle yourself as well, because they're not going to give up anything easy. I think it's bit of PTSD for myself as well, because I was at that game that you just mentioned there, the only defeat in the last few times we played them. So for me, it always feels like even more of a away ground, because the last time I went there we lost. So yeah, I do expect us to win, and if I'm honest though, tomorrow I think early on in the game, if we can get out there right and treat it properly in the first half an hour, I think we should have enough to be maybe a goal or a little bit more control of the game, and then see where it goes from there. But I do expect there to be periods of the game where they will be on top, because, like you said, they have danger from Bowen, they have danger from people like Paquetá, and even Somerville. If he gets away at your defence, he can cause problems as well. So I do have people that can cause us issues, but I feel if we treat it right, first half in particular, we should have enough to see the game through, hopefully quite comfortably.
Funny you mentioned that game. I was at the Upton Park game where West Ham beat us 2-1. Raheem Sterling scored, and you know, I used to go to Upton Park quite a lot because it's easier for where I live just to go down on the train down straight to London. So I used to get away tickets to London quite a lot, and Upton Park was always one of those ones I was like, oh, I just don't fancy it. I just, you know, West Ham, they're a good team, well drilled, well, you know, they've found their feet now as well, which doesn't help. Toby, obviously Liverpool seem to be under Arne Slot's second half maestros. You know, it's almost like they treat that first half just to work out what the opposition are doing. We'll play our game, but we're going to see what the opposition do. Then we're going to come out and then we'll really try and beat you. You know, Slot has tweaked everything. I think Robert was the latest player to come out and said, you know, we're blown away by what he does, like the tiny little tweaks, the tiny little pieces of tacticians around about his match play. And you know, Slot has been massively impressive. Do you think it's a case of seeing what West Ham bring in that first half and then maybe doing the same again? You know, Liverpool have earned 12 points from losing positions this season. And again, that's down to Slot making tiny adjustments. His substitutes, they're brilliant. You know, the players who are bringing on to do a certain job, they come in and they do it. And as I said last week, for those of us, there are over 3,500 of you. So thank you all for joining us, by the way. We do massively appreciate it. And please give the channel a like and a subscribe, because it does go a long way for keeping us four Muppets all on air every Saturday, you know, so it does go a long way amongst others. I said last week that England Rugby, who I follow as well, that when they had Eddie Jones come on as a manager, so Eddie Jones was the manager, and he said, I don't have substitutions, I have finishers. I have players who can come on for the last half hour and last 20 minutes to change the game to get us the win. They're not called substitutions. They're called finishers. And it's almost like Slot's developed that type of idea as well. You know, we've seen the likes of Jota come on, of Diaz come on, of Endo come on, and they're not just coming on because they're not as good. They're coming on to finish the game because they offer something different. You know, how many times have substitutes scored for Liverpool? That's not a coincidence. How impressed are you with Slot? And secondly, as well, do you think that the Reds go in, perhaps take the first half, see what happens, and then really go for West Ham in the second half, or do you think they just go gunmetal, you know, to start with?
Yeah, so the first question, starting off, I think that's Slot's ability to assess what kind of players he has and understanding the roles that they play. So, like, take for example, I always like to throw Nunez out there. I've been pretty critical of Nunez, but will say that he has a role on this team. That he starts the game on the bench and then comes out and plays with a lot of fire and a lot of passion. Right, he's a good guy that can come in around like the 60, 70 minutes and just bring a lot of energy whenever the team needs it. Or take, for example, Endo, when he comes in the last 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes of the game, just to close the game out. You know, I think that it's just Slot's ability to assess who he has, what role they play, and how they fit into certain situations, what we call like situational football. As far as the second question goes, I imagine it's kind of much of the same. Liverpool will probably play the first half, like to feel out their opponent, you know, play with control, and then in the second half, that's where we kind of see them play this different tempo where they say, okay, this is what we need to do differently. This is what this is how we're going to play. This is the adjustments we need to do, and type of players that we need to bring in at X period or X minute, whatever. And yeah, I've noticed that like these key substitutions at key moments. Go back to the Fulham game where he substitutes Jota in, and we got the game tying goal. That was huge, and I just think that all comes this situational football, of being aware of where we're at in the game and how it's flowing, and how the game's going.
And I like that. I like the fact that he can turn it. You know, I've just been looking through some of these comments, and you know, I really liked what Zia had said. A mix of Klopp with the tactical due diligence of Benitez. I think that's a really nice. It's like a hybrid style of that. I quite like that. Oliver's comment made me laugh as well. West Ham is more of a soapy puddle than a banana skin. Yeah, I'd probably agree. Actually, yeah, they are. But listen, soapy puddles are dangerous. So, you know, we all need to take care of that. So yeah, great comments in there. So thank you. Do keep them coming. And I am sorry if I missed them as well. So yeah, please keep your comments coming. In terms of this Liverpool defense, then Drew, they listen. I don't want to say it, and we say it every week. There's question marks over Andy Robertson, the Flying Scotsman. You know, there are question marks around him and his performances this season. It's either him or, you know, Tsimikas, really, because Ibu's out. You know, Gomez could play on the left. Some people think that's imbalanced, you know, imbalancing the team, having basically four right footers, you know, in that defensive position in the back line. What do we do really defensively? You'd expect it to be Trent, Gomez, Van Dijk, and
Robertson. I don't see Slot making the change unless Robertson, like the stats guys, are saying that he needs a rest. I think he knows, like, you know, that his legs are going just a bit, or Father Time is catching up. But he's also, I think he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. Like, his skill set, like, I remember back when Oxlade-Chamberlain was like, I don't know how someone so bad at a rondo can play as well as Andy Robertson does in a game. And I think that's just due to his knowledge, like his knowledge on the pitch, his ability to put his body in the situations that he needs to play his best in that role. I think he can get caught out against a particularly skillful player or someone who's faster than him in like a bad situation. For example, when Saka got his first goal against us at the Arsenal match, or when Robertson got the red card. I think anyone can get caught out like that. but I still have faith in Robertson to get the job done when we need him. I don't think he's like this, ticking time bomb that is ready to explode every single game. I think that majority of the times he does do well enough in the games. But Tsimikas back definitely gives us the cover we need to not have to have him play the full 90. I wouldn't be at all fussed if Joe Gomez started left back. I think at the end of the last season, you saw how effective he is in that position. But I think the partnership he's had with Van Dijk since the one or two wobbly early moments, he's come in and been steady hands. Certainly the last couple games, he's been absolutely brilliant at center back. So I just keep it the same for now.
So Oliver has said Tsimikas will start against West Ham because Robertson plays against Manchester United, which is it's a good take, I suppose. And Zia does actually say Slot said he can't do 2 games a week, yet he didn't start Tsimikas. Maybe we're selling Tsimikas in January. I personally think we don't sell Tsimikas unless a left back is inbound. I can't see a left back really moving in January unless you're paying over the odds for a Kirkes or a Robinson, perhaps. Dylan, what do you think? Do you think Tsimikas has a shout to start? I mean, I really like Oliver's comment in terms of Robertson playing against Manchester United. I suppose you don't need to defend as much against Manchester United. It's going to be a really interesting one in terms of that left back position, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was pretty much going to say what Olivier said there, to be honest with you. I thought Tsimikas will be tomorrow and then Robertson will be against United. So I pretty much agree with that comment. I think in terms of the 2 games, Tsimikas does switch off sometimes defensively, but I think when we played them earlier on in the Cup, he played against Bowen that night, so I've got no issues with him playing against Bowen tomorrow. So I think he handled them quite well in that game, so I've got no issue with him starting tomorrow. And I think it will be then Robertson has a bit of a rest and comes back in for the United game where, like you touched on there, we'll be more on the front foot. We won't have to defend as much potentially down that side. Yes, Ahmad has been playing well recently, but with how much we're going to probably be attacking against them, Ahmad's going to have to go the other way. So I'd rather Robertson in those types of situations for when we do get forward both fullbacks. So yeah, I think that's pretty much how I think it's going to go as well. I think Tsimikas tomorrow, Robertson against United.
Yeah, I think Robertson's attacking output is better than Simi's. I think he gets forward a lot more. So yeah, Ahmad, if he plays, Amarim likes to throw a curveball in now and then, although I do think Ahmad's probably Manchester United's best player at the moment. Him tracking back to Robbo might be a very interesting duel. Toby, this midfield for Liverpool, Gravenberch is obviously a card away, as is Cody Gakpo, I think, in terms of suspension against Manchester United. So Gravenberch, if he does play, you would expect that he will, bearing in mind Zobbo's, out. He's going to have to walk a bit of a tightrope, isn't he? And that West Ham midfield with Alvarez and with Paquetá in there, it's still not an easy midfield to contend with, even though Souček and Guido is out. So who are you? I mean, he's still starting Gravenberch, or are you going to perhaps go Jones, Elliott, McAllister? Endo, maybe.
Yeah, so Slot has kind of shown this unwillingness to really rotate his players. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see actually, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he does bench Gravenberch for this, but I really wouldn't be I'd be less surprised if Gravenberch starts just because, Slot doesn't like to rotate his players. I was thinking Jones would probably get the start at 10, but you did bring up Elliott. So this might be a good time or maybe a good game to get Elliott out there to start, just give him some more minutes. If not, then have him come on sometime around the 60th or 70th minute. And I imagine McAllister will get the start as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of rotation somewhere, or some rotation around the 60th or 70th minute, bring Endo in to close out the game, maybe to get Gravenberch out so he doesn't get that potential yellow card. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Slot does, because you definitely have Gravenberch on the yellow card, and you don't want to lose him for Man United. You want him to play against Man United for sure. Rivalry game, those games are always difficult. I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care where Man United is on the table.
14th, by the way. Have I mentioned it today? 14th in the league, yeah? Mentioned it, just okay.
14th, yeah, 14th. But, this is their, what we Americans like to call their Super Bowl. So this game is going to mean more, whatever that means to them. But, yeah, you want to have your best starting 11. against Man United. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would love to see Gravenberch against that Manchester United 11, not pick up a yellow against West Ham. Hopefully, whatever happens, I do think Gravenberch still starts. Hopefully he can come off and, slot as a bit of word in, no clumsy challenges. Like if someone's running at you, he's got to have that cover to just know, okay, man, unless it's a goal scoring opportunity or there's a real good break on, it's got to be a really worthy yellow card. Hopefully it's not a soft yellow card like we have seen, pretty much all season when it comes to the yellow cards and the referees. I would love to see Gravenberch against Manchester United because I think he would absolutely tear that midfield apart, if I'm honest. So let's see what happens. In terms of the attack, then the irrepressible Mohamed Salah can become the first player to score multiple goals in 4 consecutive Premier League away appearances. He's the third player to do it, who's got 3 in a row. Dennis Bergkamp in 1997 and Harry Kane in 2017. So Mohamed Salah could break another record if he scores more than 1. On his form, Drew, you probably wouldn't back against him, would you? Scoring a couple. He does actually like playing against West Ham as well. He has scored a hatful against West Ham. And the performance that he's playing and what he's been doing this season, he's just inexorable, isn't he? He's just non-stop. He's heavy metal. He is the Klopp heavy metal. I really like the fact, and commentators have actually said, he doesn't track back as much because he's always on that last man. He's always on the periphery of the shoulder. And for me, that's where he can stay, because you can have Gomez, Trent, Ibu, if when he's fit, or that right-handed sided midfielder coming in and tucking across. And I like the fact that Salah can conserve his energy and really explode when he needs to. That Liverpool attack, then obviously we've mentioned the main man, the Egyptian king. Is there any other doubts, or is there anything else in terms of attack? We've said that Gakpo's on a yellow. Does he start? Is Jota fit enough? Does Nunez start? Does he do the business in that attack as well? Is Diaz back? I don't know. I wish his father all the best. Obviously, I'm sure that we all do. Is Diaz now mentally sound to start? I think actually this is the first time this season where we're not sure, apart from Mohamed Salah, who the other two will be.
Yeah, I think Darwin's actually on a yellow away from a suspension as well. So I don't know if that necessarily comes into Slot's plans, whether or not to start him. I actually would prefer Darwin against United than against West Ham. I think similar to Leicester, I don't think Nunez is as effective when we need to break teams down. He's always has a wonder goal in him, or tends to have a wonder goal in him, but I'd much rather have like a Gakpo, Diaz, Salah start against West Ham, or I think it's too early for Jota. I think Slot in his pre-match press conference said it's like touch and go on that, whether or not he can start at this point. But that would be my preferred lineup from the front three for this. I think Gakpo is pretty capable of not getting a yellow card and losing his head, so I wouldn't be as worried there. And we also have I'm pretty sure we have the week off until United next week, so
yeah,
it will be good to have that rest for the players. So I think that's why we can go pretty strong. But for me, I think it's who's most capable of getting you the goal right away. I think it will very much depend on that. Hopefully, we start the game strong and are able to get the early goals that allow the game to be much more easily manageable come second half, because that's when you can start pulling off the likes of Gravenberch, the Gakpos, the ones on the yellow cards that get them safely off the field, while we still will have an incredible bench to step up and push on from there. So for me, I'd start pretty strong, and I personally would choose Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah. I think Diaz put out a comment that the stuff around his dad wasn't as serious, or not quite sure about that. If it was, definitely hard to him, and hoping it's all okay. But I would prefer him to start tomorrow with Gakpo and Salah.
Yeah, I think that's my front three as well. I completely agree. I think that's my front three. I don't think you can drop Gakpo, the form that he's in. Obviously, Diaz got 2 before he was taken off. that you would have thought to then have been rested for Leicester, but obviously, that didn't work out. So he's actually had a prolonged rest, probably not mentally, but I'm sure he'll want to get back out on the pitch and just play football. Dylan, are you in the same camp as Drew? Is that your front three for tomorrow?
Slightly different. So I think Gakpo's on a yellow card as well, where he's one away from suspension for United as well.
He is, yeah.
So for me, I would probably rest him tomorrow. And I know he's been in banging form, but I think he can still continue that into United. It's only a few days away as well. So I think for me, I would rest him, put Diaz on the left. And looking at the two centre-halves that they're probably going to have with Max Kilmer being out, they're probably going to start Todibo and Mavropanos is probably going to be the two that are probably going to be in there for them. Don't think they're the two most mobile in terms of getting about. So I think Núñez up front against the two of them kind of stretch them a little bit further, a little bit more movement potentially in there than someone like Diaz or Jota, who's mainly going to stay towards the middle or left-hand side of the box. So I think Núñez kind of occupy them both and potentially start. So that for me would be very slightly different, but I wouldn't have an issue with it if it was the other way.
Zia, yeah, sorry that you sound cut out. I would like to clarify that, yes, they have spent over $1 billion over the past 10 years. And yes, they are in 14th. West Ham are above them. Our oppositions tomorrow are above Manchester United. So just to clarify, I hope your sound did cut out there. Let me know if it did. But yeah, Manchester United, 14th in the league. Toby, talk about West Ham then very, very quickly, because there's some amazing darts on, lads, that we all want to get to, I'm sure. The arrows at Ali Pali have been sensational this year. Talk about West Ham and their threats. Are you, before we go on to the match predictions, so please, Drew, Dylan, Toby, after your question as well, and everyone else in the chat, get ready for your match predictions on one goal scorer, if you're going for a goal scorer, obviously. Is there anyone in that West Ham team who we haven't mentioned who you actually think Liverpool perhaps need to keep a close eye on?
I know we've mentioned Bowen a couple times, but I always think that, I believe he's the lead goal scorer on that team, so he's a name to keep an eye on. Kudus, I know as well. He's underperformed, but still, it's Mohamed Kudus, so you might as well take him seriously. And I think you said Paqueta is coming back as well. So from suspension or yellow card, I don't remember. But first game back, he's definitely going to want to make a statement. So I think those are some names to take a look at. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy game in my opinion. So
it could be a barnstormer, couldn't it? Like Liverpool's best real chance is attacking. Like the Kudos, the Bowens, the Paquetas, Alvarez as well. The West Ham have got some decent players, so actually maybe Liverpool need to bury him early and see him off early. So it could be an absolute barnstormer of a game. Hopefully it is 5:15 for everyone else. Well, obviously for those in the UK. Drew, talking about, and Toby, I suppose, from overseas, what do you prefer, the later games? Does that work out better for you? The 5:15 games or the 12:30 games or the 3:00 games? What works out best, Drew?
Yeah, it's coming from the West Coast. The 12:30 kickoffs are 4:30 a.m. for me, so those are always the toughest. I haven't missed one yet this year, so still getting up for those. But I guess the 3:00 kickoffs aren't bad for me either. 7 a.m. I normally get up around like 6:37, regardless weekday or weekend. So those are fine. Anything 3 p.m. and later is ideal for me.
Okay, so the later the better. Is that same for you, Toby?
Yeah, much the same. I live in Central Time, so I want to say around 12 o'clock BST. It's 6 o'clock a.m. around here, and I'm used to waking up early. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. for like the past I don't know how many weeks now. Golly. But still, I always like to ease into my day. That's just how I operate. So early kickoffs suck. Later they're okay. I don't like it being too late though, because I like to have my own personal time to do whatever, watch YouTube videos or whatever. So
yeah. And I suppose I like the later games because it just, you can do what you want, like you say, do what you want during the day. Later games there, whereas the 12:30 kickoffs that Jurgen also hated, by the way, lads. So you're not the only ones. Those 12:30 kickoffs are like bang slap in the middle of the day, and yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the backside. Right, Drew, let's go match predictions then. What's your match predictions? And if you feel it's safe enough you can predict a goal scorer as well?
I'm gonna go with the goal scorer, Richie. A thing that I have done in ill omens is the 2 times I've predicted results this year. We lost to Nottingham and drew against Fulham. So I'm just doing
In fairness, listen, no one is expecting Nottingham Forest to be third in the league. Like, they've been phenomenal this year. So I'm sure everyone would have predicted at Anfield a Liverpool win so early in the season. So I think, you could probably say, and Fulham are a good team. So maybe don't be too harsh on yourself.
But for whatever jujus are on that, I'm going to respectfully decline a match prediction here. But I will say Mohamed Salah, man of the match, FBL captain as well. So I'm hoping he bangs a couple.
Yeah, mine too. I think he might be a very big favourite. Dylan, again, match prediction, score prediction, or goal scorer?
Yeah, I think 3-1 Liverpool. I think probably another boring answer, but I think Salah's going to get at least a goal or 2, and then I think Diaz probably getting a goal as well. And for West Ham, I think a couple of times, last few times he's played us, I think Jared Bowen's got something like 3 goals and 3 assists or something against us. So wouldn't surprise me if he's either on scoring himself or setting up one of their goals. But hopefully no more for them, just that 1 goal. And I see us 3 or 4, but I'll go 3-1.
Yeah, that was my prediction as well. I was going to go 3-1, so now I'm going to have to change it. But yeah, that would have been my prediction as well. Toby?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the same route as Drew. I'm usually with him on SSAN, so I know the drill. No bad juju, but I will go goal scorer being Cody Gakpo. I just get the feeling that this is the Cody Gakpo game, that this is one where we see him score. Obviously, I think we'll see Salah score because GOAT, the Egyptian king, but I do think this is a Cody Gakpo game.
Jace has gone for 5-1. I'm hoping to Liverpool. You've obviously done that to the home team, but I'm assuming that you've done it to Liverpool, and it'll be the 1-5 rather than the 5-1. Hopefully, anyway, Jace. I will go 3-2 then, and I think Diaz scores because he was on fine form beforehand, and I think he just wants to get back on the pitch, and I think he'll dedicate his goal, hopefully 3 of them, to his father. And, listen, whatever happens, there is more to life than football. And I hope that Diaz's father is okay and everything else, around the world is fine. And, it is a game at the end of the day, but it does mean so much to so many people. So hopefully we can also get that win. Listen, thank you all for joining us. Before we do go, though, what I like to do on the Saturday Night Club is doing any of a business round. So this is where, and again, Drew, Dylan, and Toby, I'll give you a couple of minutes. You can ask anything, you can discuss anything, and it's just one for everyone else in the chat to get involved in. As I said, there is a darts game going on, so I would like to wrap it up pretty soon. But we always do the last word is any other business. So Drew, any other business in terms of football, in terms of life, anything else that you want to quickly discuss?
First thing that came to my mind when you said that is Nosferatu, the movie or the film. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but I'm very excited to go see that. Planning like birthday weekend, get a couple of guy friends to go see that movie. Roger Eggers, directing, writing. I'm a big film buff, so and bookworm as well, as Richie knows. So. For me, if anyone in the chat's seen Nosferatu, give me thumbs up or give thumbs down. And that's the business for this weekend.
What was it called?
Nosferatu.
Okay, I'll have a look. Nosferatu. Yeah, okay. German expression is vampire director F.W. Murnau, that one?
Yes, indeed.
Very good. Okay, cool. Okay, Dylan, anything else?
Mine's going to be, I'm not sure if we're going to be on I'll probably be on one stream in between, but just in case I'm not, the United one. Let's talk a little bit about United. So I think hopefully we absolutely smash them at Anfield again. And I think we are, the way they're playing at the moment, if we attack them earlier on, I think we can have a very, very good game against them, 4 or 5-0 I'm hoping for. I don't think it'll quite be the 7-0 capitulation that we've had previously, but I do think it'll be quite a good, comfortable win to keep them. Where are they again, Rich? Keep them where?
I can't remember. Can anyone else remember?
So someone will say it in the chat, I'm sure.
14.
14th, absolutely horrendous. And Toby, any other business?
Man, when I get off, I'm thinking I'll watch Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I've been
Lovely.
wanting to do that for a couple days now. Maybe rewatch. I don't know it just came out digitally, but rewatch War of Rohirrim. Yeah, and also New Year's is coming up, so it's been a long year. As King Theoden says in Return of the King, "Hail the victorious dead."
Very good. You need a top up though, Toby. That's what I see. You need a bit of a top up. Was there anything in terms of New Year's Eve parties that any of you three are going to? As Drew said, I'm old, right? So as Drew said at the top, I am old. I know I look 21, but I'm actually not. So I'm doing nothing. Do any of you have to live vicariously through you guys? Anything happening on New Year's, Drew?
Yeah, I'm working New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, so I will not be going crazy. But one of my friends is having a get together, and he is a phenomenal chef. So he's gonna have the grill out. Los Angeles, it's not gonna be below 60 degrees, so every day is a good grill day. So after work, I'll be heading over to his place with some friends.
Yeah, I like the fact when you said he's a really good, I was thinking in my head, please say chef. There's nothing better than a good chef, is there? Dylan?
Yeah, just family party, family and friends, good food, and yeah, see if we can make it to midnight. My daughter's determined to make it to midnight again. She's made it the last couple of years, and she's getting slightly older again. She's 10 now, so she'd just about see it through to New Year's, and then yeah, just good fun with the family. That's it.
Yeah, she'll make it. She'll see the fireworks over London Bridge, and that's always phenomenal. That show with the drones, like last year. If you guys haven't seen it, well, listen, it's probably nothing compared to what America can do, but London do put on a really good show, and the drones and the fireworks, it is really cool. My daughter, she's 7, hence the balloons behind me. There you go. So yeah, she's 7 and she loves the firework display as well. So yeah, that's quite cool. I mean, it's probably nothing compared to what you guys in the States can do. But Toby, any New Year's Eve plans? And then we're going to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, I'm more likely just stay at home, relax. I don't really party. I'm not like that. I know I look young, but just like you, Richie, I'm pretty damn old. Just kidding, I'm 28, but yeah, just hanging out, chilling, relaxing.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have a curry takeaway, and yeah, as I say, I think I might. Is New Year's? Oh no, that's fine. I'm not on stream. Yeah, I'm gonna have a takeaway and watch a film maybe. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right. Thank you all for joining us. There are 4,600 of you who have joined us. Thank you all so much in the comments. I'm going to end with this one from Zia talking about Manchester United. And I know we play West Ham, but you can never look at too far from the Manchester United game as well. So yeah, it might be a record. We'll see. But thank you all for joining us. For Drew, to Dylan, to Toby, thank you for making my job a lot easier as host and being wonderful guests that you are. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you so much. Up the Reds, because listen, tomorrow is a massive game and one that Liverpool can hopefully extend the lead at the top of the table even further. Thanks all for joining us. Happy New Year to you all if I don't see you beforehand. Merry Christmas and stay safe. And for now, and as always, up the Reds.